Have you ever wondered why some real estate agents perform at ultra-high levels every single year? Welcome to the Unstoppable Agent Podcast with your host, Richard Fournier. Each week, we interview real estate agents from around the world who are constantly ranked in the top 1% of the real estate industry. My mission, share with you their best strategies so that you can create your own peak results as a real estate agent. It's time to become unstoppable.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Unstoppable Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Fournier, and I'm really excited today to have Christine Vollick from Century 21 BJ Roth in Aurelia with us today. Hello, Christine.
Hello, Rich. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you today. You know, this podcast, Christine, is like the basis of this podcast is to try to dive deep into someone to figure out what has made them a top producer in the market, the business, the lifestyle, the crazy of residential real estate. And you have performed at the very highest of levels in the game of real estate for a really, really long time. So hopefully you don't mind me digging deep into your life a little bit.
The answer is multiple personalities.
Right?
You need to
100%. I agree with you completely. Yeah, we designed this podcast to really dive deep into the lives and the personalities around people who are performing at a really high level, because it seems to be an elusive thing. You know, performance at a high level in the residential real estate industry seems very elusive, and it's like this thing you're always chasing, but some people never find. And so that's why I created it, was to try to figure out what was the juice around some people's performance. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, I've watched several of your episodes, and I've learned a lot. And I think that's one of the biggest things is sometimes, you know, when you reach a certain level, many people think that they know everything. And one thing that I found is, you know, listen to other people, see what they're doing. We all need a recharge. We all need a kickstart. And so it's great. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you. No, my pleasure. I appreciate it. And thanks for taking some time. So you've been around this game for a while. You know, some people fall into this. Some people fall into this real estate business as a default, right? To something that's not working out in their life. You, on the other hand, started quite young.
Yeah, I was 15, so 40, almost 42 years ago now. Office procedures teacher sent me down to AE LePage for an interview for a part-time secretary. Yeah. And so when all my friends were driving by, you know, Friday night, I was sitting in the window on Front Street, well, you know, waving to them as I'm typing offers on the IBM Selectric that we had. I'm dating myself, but yeah. So that was a really great time. I was like I said, part-time secretary there, and then went off. I wanted to be a lawyer, but I got a boyfriend and had a baby instead. So the law degree was off the table. And so I was selling typewriters and office equipment. And one of the real estate brokers who worked with me at AE LePage started a business countrywide. And so he hired me as his administrator. And we had a really good office. I wouldn't let him hire anyone else because I'm a bit of a control freak. So, you know, I had my hands on the hub of the business and worked there. So yeah, that's where it all started. And and you know, you've been through the years, right? You know, with the books, the you know, specific number of desks in an office, and you've seen the transition into the internet age. You've seen the transition now into a social media age. Yes. Yeah.
And so when you look back at your career, which for our listeners, and we have an international audience into the US, so really it would be about maybe 2 hours north of Toronto, downtown Toronto, for those international listeners. So, you know, if you look back at your career, what is the common theme? Because the market has changed, marketing has changed, internet technology has changed. Like, there's a common theme And there's a common behavior in what you do every day for these past 30, 40 years. Like, what is that common theme for you to produce at a high level?
Yeah. So I think the one thing that I learned being a part-time secretary and administrator, I was an assistant for a top producer. Oddly enough, when I was the administrator, my boss paid for me to get my real estate license so that I would know the ropes. Right. The thing that I've done all along is listen to people. So, and people don't necessarily need an answer right away. They just want to be heard. And so even when I was on the front desk working with people, that sort of, they just wanted someone to hear them, to, try to solve a problem. Well, now it's the same thing in real estate. People know when they're being sold to, right. And I don't sell to anyone. I mean, in the past crazy market, I talked a lot of people out of buying because right. It wasn't right for them. And I knew it was going to slow down. And so I think what the thing is you just have to, are you working for yourself or are you working for your people? So whether, all along I watched realtors come and go. I watched the realtors that I wanted to be like, and those were the ones that were in it for the people, not for the check.
Not for the check.
Yeah.
Right. And when you look back, like real relational business is what you're talking about. Like you're deep inside their lives.
Yeah. I mean, it really is a population of what, 30?
Yeah, it's
40,
a small town.
Yeah. It's small. Yeah. Now I work all the surrounding townships as well. I'm a country girl. I'm from Severn Township, which is just outside of Aurelia, but we're not a large population. But my thing that I say to my clients all the time is when I see you in the grocery store, I want to hug you, not hide from you. And that's it. That's how I work my business. If I see you, I want to hug you. Now there are a few people that I do hide from.
You might hug them very tightly as they pass out.
Yeah, but that's sort of my theme all the time when I'm in my business. And you know what? People get that. They like that, and that's why they refer their friends and family.
So can I go there for a second? And so this audience, the audience is like, okay, I've heard this. I got to have relationships with a lot of people. How do I do that? How do I have, and how do I transition that relationship to business? And so there's two parts to that question. Okay. So I'll just break it down the middle. So I believe that relationships at scale are the most important thing. Deep relationships at scale to win in real estate, just because the competition's pretty fierce. There's a lot of people out there today, but that's why I believe in having lots of relationships. But, how do you go about developing relationships like every day around buying or selling a piece of property? I think it's different.
Yeah, well, I think, even today, I had a phone call from a prior client's neighbor. So-and-so told me to call you. And immediately you just start talking to them as people. Right. And, she's building an apartment in her daughter's basement. So you just talk to people. People want to feel important. They want to feel heard, like I said before. And people don't want to, I know there's a lot of schools of real estate. There's lots of people that, close the deal and that kind of thing. Yeah. But people know when they're being sold a line of crap. Sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and so I just think you just have to be genuine. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can, I don't know, just be genuine. I'm not always goodness and light. Trust me. I can be like a little crusty, but I think people they know when you're being genuine with them.
I 100% agree with you. Do you, if we could dive down because you and I have had off recording conversations around your performance, and we're going to get to that and where you believe is the truth for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to give you a stage for that.
Please.
But when you look at the tactical, day-to-day things that you do every day to develop relationships and to continue relationships, what does that look like?
It's funny because I had a brand new agent call me a few years ago, and she said, I'm calling all the top producers in the area and I'm just asking for one tip. And I don't think she liked what I said, but I said, start to go to church.
Right.
So honestly, I mean, I attribute all my success I left the top producer that I was working with and got my real estate license. Well, started off on my own in 2005. Oddly enough, that's the same year that I went to a family member's nephew's funeral. Yeah. And I was like, hey, just a second. If that was my kid, I wouldn't know where he was. And I right in that place, I sort of, looked at the big picture and said, wait a second, I have to change some things. And so that's when I just recommitted my life to serving God. I think that what that does is it's given me a focus where I take the God-given abilities that he's given me, because I didn't make me, and use them. But as you and I talked before too, I obviously give all the glory to God for my performance, but the basis of Christianity is, right. To treat people with respect, be honest, have integrity, love your neighbor, right. Don't lie, be honest, like those sorts of right. things. And so whether or not, those are the things that I feel are important. And one thing that I did is I was really convicted not to work Sundays. And again, I said to realtors that I've talked to, I choose Sunday because that's my family day. I put it right on my voicemail. I'm not working if you're calling on a Sunday, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Now, I'm not legalistic in that. I texted an agent yesterday and I, had to email an offer last night, whatever. But whether it's Sunday or Tuesday or Friday, you can't let this business run you, because it will run you into the ground. And you have to take a day. You and I talked about the why. That's why you have to set up your why. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this, number one, for me, because of my faith. I'm doing this to bring honor to God. Yep. I'm doing this to provide for my family and to provide a service for people, right? Yep. So we have to, so I think what you have to do though, but is if you don't take care of yourself, like some days on Saturday, I'm like, it's Saturday, but Sunday's coming.
Right, fair enough.
So you have to do that. You have to take care of yourself. You have to have a day. Pick a day where you put it on your voicemail that you're not available. Because otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, no, when we got started up here, we didn't know anyone, and I didn't do that. I worked really hard 7 days a week, and that was my choice. But you do burn out without any help.
But the thing is, I've found if you give people options, hey, I'm not available tomorrow, but I could do Monday or Wednesday. Do either of those days work for you? Yeah. I could do Saturday. So you work later on Saturday. Sure. A lot of times when people choose that one day, they do have other options.
Sure.
So, I think that has been really important to me. So.
And so your faith has been something that you could, I think let's drill down into it a little bit more. Your faith has been something you could lean on. Number one is that you're accountable to something beyond yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. Not just your clients, but you're accountable to something that you believe is bigger than you. And secondly, in all your daily actions are guided by that faith. Right. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, maybe you don't worry as much because you have a faith in something. Yeah. Something's going to lead you through the turmoil of the business.
Anxiety is the lack of faith, really. Right. And I'm not perfect. Trust me. Right. I've sat back and went, right. Okay, the market's slowing down. I mean, what's happening? But again, you have to, you have to believe in that. And I think that, like I said, being a Christian and praying and trusting in God, but it's also, you still have to do the work yourself. You still have to, and sometimes, you don't want to, but you have to. And so, yeah, I definitely think that for me, faith is the utmost important. It's funny because when I was given a bit of a platform, and when I won when I changed offices and I was the top agent, I really felt this conviction because I didn't work Sundays. I really felt this conviction, like, you have to say something, because I knew they were going to ask me to say something. It's like, oh, I'm just awesome. No, I'm not. But I said, many people have said that because I only work 6 days a week, that, oh, don't deal with her. Don't, she doesn't work Sundays, yada, yada, yada. And I said, many of you are in this room, and I'm just here to tell you that God's in control. Man isn't. And, so that gave me that platform I wasn't bringing the glory on me. And like I said, whether or not I believe that is the thing. God is in control of everything. But you have to take care of yourself. So just take a day off and work your business, and you have to have value. If you don't value yourself, people aren't going to value your services. 100%. Like, we're a drive-through generation. I remember when people had to come into the restaurant and get me to make their coffee on their way to work at 6 o'clock in the morning when I was 14. Right. Now we drive through. Well, people will still wait for you if you have a valuable service to give. So that's what I.
And when you look at your day-to-day, Christine, and how you operate, if we look at someone coming into the industry today, this on-demand society that we live in completely. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give someone if they were starting today with this, and maybe doesn't have, maybe they're just newer, to example, an area, maybe doesn't have these lifelong relationships that have been developed over time? How would someone break into the industry like that?
Well, I think the big thing is getting out and meeting people, right? Whether it's, volunteering in an organization. Going to church is a great way to meet people. Don't go there just to meet people, right? But getting involved in organizations, volunteering, just being approachable, just speaking to people. I had conversations in the lineup at the bank. I don't wear a lot of branded clothing, but wear branded clothing so that if you're in the grocery store, people always want to ask people about the real estate market. Be approachable. Another thing I do is always, again, regardless of what course you're taking, do courses, do online training, do whatever, and take a tidbit from that, because you can use that in a conversation. You always seem to find that. Now, grant you, I start every day by, reading the Bible and praying and asking God to guide me. And I think I've watched a lot of your podcasts where top producers say that they take in information in the morning, right, to get them going.
There's a common denominator, and sometimes they use different language. But the one common denominator that every single, and hopefully people are hearing me here, so I haven't really gone down this road, but you just brought it up, that the common denominator is an unbelievable faith that everything's going to work out. They have a certainty to them, like a level of certainty that supersedes everything else. They have certainty. Mm-hmm. They don't dwell on, and I hate to use the word negative, but they don't dwell on things that they cannot control. They just go, this is what's going to happen. And I'm just going to go. And I don't think about the opposite of what I don't want.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
for sure. And like I jokingly say to my clients, I've used it a lot, lawyers get paid to create problems. Realtors get paid to solve problems. And that's you brought up a good topic, or a good point. When I started in real estate, I used to take messages on the phone from the telegram service, because we would accept offers by telegram. Wow. I worked in a real estate office when the first fax machine was in Aurelia, so we were the keepers of the information. You had to come to a realtor to get information. You can get, half my clients know more than what's going on because they do it as a hobby, right? So people don't need you. We're not the keepers of the information anymore,
Right.
but yet we're still valuable, because you know what? People want someone to help them through the process. They can look up listings. They can get, they can do virtual tours. They can look up solds now on apps that I refuse to put on my phone. but they just want someone to help them through the process. And whether you're new or old, you can learn. Follow a home inspector around. Listen to what he's saying to your client.
Right.
Go with another thing. I have a core group of people that I trust. They're not all within my brokerage. I have a problem, I call them. So you don't have to sort of be on your own, and you don't have to be a superstar. It's okay to say, I don't know, but I can find out. People just want someone to help them through the process.
Yeah, they really do. And I think fear, ego, and greed keeps us in business, right? Because people are fearful. They want some help. They want to make sure they're doing the right thing, someone else to ask an opinion on. Ego is when you can't get two parties together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you got greed, that people don't want to lose on anything, so they
Right.
need some help, right? So there's those three things that I think really insulate the really good agents from the crazy in the world, and will continue for a very long time, for a very, very long time. When you look out at the speed of the business itself, so you're in a satellite community, and at one, like the speed of which agents come into your community from outside the market, right? And they're not in your business, they're not in your market, they don't know what's on that street, they don't know it's 3 streets over. And maybe you'll see signs that they advertise buyers from another city that they're bringing to your people. How do you produce value in your seller's mind that you're the right person to list with today?
Well, it's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up, because that was one of the things I was hoping we would talk about.
Okay, great. I'm glad. This is great. Yeah.
So one thing that I don't do, and and again, this would be my advice. I see a lot of people running all over the place to service clients. Right. So, they list places an hour away, 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. How can you tell me that you can service that property, either as a listing agent or as a buyer's agent? How can you tell me? You don't know the area. You don't know the value. I mean, we can all look up the information, but then we're no different than our clients that are looking on the internet at pictures or at, So how can you tell me that you can actually service that client or that property that far away when you don't know? I live here. I know the surrounding townships. I know the people that live next door. I know the schools. That's why that's the value that I bring. And I think we're going to get more of this the harder it gets, because we saw the GTA realtors expanding out. Yep. And I mean, we loved their buyers because they had big wallets with them. Right. But what I'm saying is, I think as a realtor, know who you're servicing, know where you are working, and don't be tempted. Now, grant you, there might be, Aunt so-and-so who has a house so-and-so. And yeah, as a one-off, you can do that. But I think it's very important to know where you're working, and don't get tempted to, drive 2 hours to throw up a sign. Because even though you're doing that, are you going to drive 2 hours 5 times a week when people want to look at it?
No, that's very, very, very true. And you know what, just for everyone, Christine really does do what she says. She referred something to me 30 minutes south of her. I mean, she could have quite easily serviced it. So she definitely is putting her money where her mouth is.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, because I don't know the areas. So
yeah. So the mind can only take as much as the butt can handle for our listeners. And so when you look at, and I kind of want to summarize, so kind of like as an agent, you've said that your faith is everything. Like, it is the foundational piece on your performance.
Absolutely, 100%.
And thank you for saying that, because a lot of people don't want to communicate around that, but your faith is number one. And you spend every morning in private prayer around your beliefs and what you're going to do for that day.
And I pray for my business. I pray for my clients. Right. I pray for sales. I pray for buyers. I pray because I'm not in control. I mean, I honestly believe that God is. Yes, I pray for all of that just for properly, just for eyes to see. I think we, in this culture, we're drawn inward. We're made to look like we are the be all and end all, and we are the God of our world. And I don't believe that. I find, and again, lots of my clients are not Christians, but they see those attributes in me, and they want to deal. So, I don't go and drop off Bibles to my clients, but because you have to meet people where they are. 100%. But ultimately, I feel that you have to have faith in something larger than yourself, because when you fail, that's debilitating.
Some days,
so
some days, Christine, I can tell you stories. And then, so, you rest your business and you rest your performance on your faith. Secondly, you do rest, the next step for you, right, is really resting inside the relationship with people, genuine relationships with as many people in the community as possible, and living and breathing their lives. And then from there, you just let the momentum take care of itself.
Yeah. Now, I have been blessed because, like I said, I have been in real estate for a long time. So people have seen me, whether it was behind the desk or on the signs or whatever. But it's odd because you and I had this conversation. I've been in the top 1%. I've been, number 26 in Canada or whatever for a very small town. But one thing I did last year is COVID messed with me, and I got really tired last year because the year before was ridiculous. Last year I got really tired, and I didn't actually, I was still very successful. I still was a Centurion producer. I'm very thankful for that, but I didn't.
You slowed down.
I slowed down.
Yeah.
And so I had the conversation with my daughter who works with me, and I said, you know what, I'm not ready to slow down. And I also, had the conversation with God and went, okay, thank you so much. Please continue to bless my business. Give me, but you can't just pray and then sit on your butt and wait for the phone to ring. So at that point, there are things, I watched one of your podcasts and I got great tips from that. Do those things, stay in contact with your people. There's huge teams that we're up against that, can have all kinds of funds to do crazy things for their clients and whatever. But that, you don't have to necessarily do that. You just have to be in touch with your clients. Shoot off a text, give a phone call, send out an email,
right. I agree with you.
Yeah, they just want to know that you're there.
And I think most agents that we see, they become silent agents, right? Secret silent agents. They never communicate. And I just called a client this morning who's up in Midland now, and that was an hour conversation because they're just so lonely and they just wanted someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And I was driving for an hour. I'm like, hey, perfect time to call that client. Right. So, and that was an hour conversation around COVID, around life, around death, around renovations to do in the house, what's going on in their family. And you almost become a confidant, and you really just live inside their world. And I think
love your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Love your neighbor.
Right.
That's it.
Can anyone reach out to you to ask you some advice if they have some specific advice around the game of real estate?
Absolutely. I think that we can all learn from each other. I love that. I pick up stuff. I picked up things from you. I think that as soon as we stop giving to others and pouring into others is when our tank starts to be depleted as well. So I would absolutely love to Not that I have any of the answers, but
Oh, stop.
you know,
Christina's a lot of, you don't get to top 1% of Century 21, not know anything. So, so let's just pull that one away from you. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you spending some time with us. And I look forward to seeing you in person very, very soon.
yes, thank you, Rich. I really.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in creating a quantum leap in your real estate business, here's what I want you to do next. Head over to www.theunstoppableagentprogram.com and book an appointment to speak with our team. We'll get on a Zoom call with you for about 30 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, what do you really want out of your life and your business? Number 2, what is not working for you today? And number 3, the exact mindset strategy you should be using to create massive change in these areas. Remember, creating massive, consistent results in your real estate business does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen. We're helping clients all over the world create peak results in their real estate business. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.theunstoppableagentprogram.com. We'll chat soon.